How did a vast system of earthen ridges and mounds rise from the flat wetlands of the lower Mississippi Valley, built by societies without agriculture or cities, and endure for centuries before quietly fading from view? At first, Poverty Point feels almost invisible. The land is wide and low, shaped by slow rivers, soft soils, and seasonal floods. Grasses move gently in the wind. Trees line distant waterways. Light settles evenly across open ground. Nothing here suggests monument or grandeur. And yet, beneath this calm surface, order remains. Long, curved ridges rise gently from the earth. Broad mounds stand at measured distances. Open spaces stretch between them. From above, these shapes form a precise geometric pattern, 6 sweeping arcs arranged around a central plaza, connected to massive earthworks that reach outward across the landscape. This is Poverty Point, resting in northeastern Louisiana near the Mississippi River's ancient paths. It lies within a region shaped by water. Floodplains expand and contract. Lakes form and vanish. Channels shift over time. The ground is fertile but unstable. Everything here is temporary. In such a place, permanence seems unlikely. Yet these earthworks remain. They were not formed by erosion. They were built. Soil was gathered. Baskets were filled. Earth was carried and placed with care. Layer by layer, ridges rose, mounds took shape, open spaces were preserved. The landscape itself was redesigned. What makes this more remarkable is who built it. There is no evidence of large farming villages here, no signs of permanent cities. The surrounding region shows patterns of seasonal movement and resource gathering. And yet, this immense construction required planning, coordination, and sustained effort. From the ground, the ridges feel gentle. They rise only a few feet. Their power lies in their scale. They stretch for hundreds of meters, forming a unified design that can only be fully understood from above. No written records explain why this place was built. No voices describe its first shaping. Poverty Point speaks only through earth and space, and so the question settles quietly across these curved embankments. Why did mobile societies create one of North America's largest prehistoric landscapes at all? To understand how Poverty Point functioned, the surrounding waterways must be seen as part of its design. This region lies within a vast network of rivers, bayous, lakes, and seasonal wetlands. Water moves slowly here, reshaping land year after year. During floods, new channels form. During dry periods, shorelines retreat. Travel, food, and communication have always followed these shifting paths. Poverty Point stood near these natural corridors. From this location, movement was possible in many directions. Canoes could reach distant regions. Seasonal routes connected forests, marshes, and uplands. The site was not isolated. It sat at the center of a wide web of travel and exchange. Evidence of this network appears in the materials found here. Stone from the Appalachians, copper from the Great Lakes, shells from the Gulf Coast. These objects traveled hundreds of miles before reaching this place. They were not sluicai arrivals. They reflect repeated, organized movement across vast distances. Within the site itself, space was carefully arranged. The curved ridges form terraces where structures once stood. Their shape creates natural drainage, preventing water from pooling. The central plaza remains open and elevated, protected from flooding. Large mounds rise at key points, anchoring the entire layout. Everything responds to water and ground. The ridges slow runoff. The plaza remains dry. Paths follow stable lines. Even subtle slopes guide movement and drainage. Poverty Point works with its environment rather than resisting it. Daily activity likely unfolded along these curves. Temporary structures stood on raised ground. Storage and work areas clustered near the ridges. Open space remained clear for gathering and movement. The layout encouraged repeated use without permanent construction. What emerges is a place designed for rhythm, seasonal arrival and departure, cycles of gathering and dispersal, periods of intense activity followed by quiet absence. Poverty Point appears built to accommodate movement rather than settlement. But this raises another question. How did people who moved across wide landscapes return again and again to maintain such a complex design? What held this system together over generations? The Earth preserves the pattern, but not the process. As Poverty Point continued to develop, its landscape grew more defined through steady renewal. The ridges were not built once and abandoned. Layers of soil show repeated maintenance. Erosion was repaired. Slopes were reshaped. Surfaces were reinforced. Over time, this created durable forms within a fragile environment. Within this system, the curved embankments served multiple purposes. They elevated activity above floodwater. They organized space into clear zones. They guided movement along predictable paths. Standing on one ridge, others remained visible across the open plaza, creating a sense of orientation and continuity. The large mounds anchoring the complex add another layer of mystery. Some rise sharply from flat ground, standing apart from the ridges. Their placement appears deliberate. They occupy focal points within the layout. Their exact function remains uncertain. They may have supported structures, gatherings, or long-term storage. The Earth does not reveal its intent. What is clear is the scale of coordination involved. Soil had to be gathered from surrounding areas. Transport routes had to remain open. Construction had to follow consistent measurements. Without shared standards, the geometry would have collapsed. The absence of permanent buildings makes this coordination even more striking. Most structures were likely built from wood and plant materials that have long vanished. What remains is only the foundation. The visible landscape is a framework once filled with temporary life. Poverty Point also reflects careful scheduling. Construction and maintenance likely followed seasonal cycles. Flood periods, dry months, and resource availability would have shaped work rhythms. The site seems designed to fit into these natural calendars. Yet despite this order, Poverty Point lacks clear signs of centralized control. There are no obvious elite compounds, no fortified zones, no dominating structures. The space feels shared. Order here appears to have emerged through cooperation rather than command. This makes the site difficult to interpret. How did such large-scale organization persist without permanent settlement or rigid hierarchy? And how fragile was that balance? Subtle changes in later layers suggest the answer may not be simple. Part 4. Strict 310 words version. In its later centuries, Poverty Point began to change in ways that were quiet and gradual. There is no clear evidence of sudden destruction, no layer of burning, no sign of violent collapse. Instead, the rhythm that once sustained the earthworks slowly weakened. Maintenance became less consistent. Some ridges show increased erosion. Certain surfaces were no longer carefully reshaped. The geometry began to soften. In a landscape shaped by water and time, even small interruptions mattered. Shifts in river courses may have altered travel routes. Changes in flood patterns could have affected access and food resources. Wetlands may have expanded or retreated. In a system so closely tied to seasonal movement, environmental changes would have had wide effects. Exchange networks also appear to have weakened. Fewer distant materials appear in later layers. Long routes may have become less reliable. As connections thinned, the site's role within regional systems may have diminished. Social rhythms likely shifted as well. A place built on repeated gathering depends on shared commitment. When fewer groups returned to rebuild ridges and clear spaces, the system would not collapse suddenly. It would fade. Over time, grasses spread across embankments, trees rooted along slopes. Floodwater reshaped edges. The plaza blended back into surrounding ground. Poverty Point was not abandoned in a single moment. It was gradually absorbed by the landscape that had always surrounded it. Today, the curved ridges and great mounds still rise quietly from the Louisiana plain. From the ground, they appear gentle. From the air, their precision becomes clear. The design endures, even after centuries of weather and growth. And so the original question returns: why did mobile societies create one of North America's largest earthwork landscapes, and why did it eventually fall silent? The evidence suggests answers rooted in cooperation, seasonal rhythm, and deep knowledge of place. It also reminds us how delicate such systems can be. If this quiet journey through Poverty Point has stayed with you, you may wish to continue exploring these ancient landscapes with us. And what do you think inspired people to shape the earth on such a scale without building permanent cities?